Hi, this is Alydia Rackham, and welcome to this week's novel writing tutorial. Today we're going to talk about kind of a stressful subject, which is who you should give your work to, if you will pardon my dangling tooth there. Now, a lot of people think, okay, I have written something, so the best thing to do is to hand it off to the most literary person I know, be it a fellow English major, or a teacher, or someone who is an editor, something like that. Someone that you know, even someone you don't really know very well, but you think has the credentials to give you an honest opinion about your work. This is a bad idea. And I'm not just saying that from just a theoretical standpoint. I know this from experience. From my own experience and from experience, actually mostly from my friends who have tried writing things and then they handed them off to someone and then they never wrote again. Now, something went wrong there. If you can imagine this person that you're handing this stuff to be, pulling out a red pen like that, like so excited to think it while they're reading your stuff, don't let them get within 40 feet of your stuff. And I'm serious. Don't let them touch it. Here's how you need to picture your work and your writing psyche when you are starting out. If this is your first project, or even if you're still starting out, you've written a few things, but this is, you feel beginnerish. You need to treat your psyche and your work like a baby. I'm serious. I'm not kidding around. This is like an infant. So if you had a baby and you happened to have a friend of a friend who is a child psychology expert that you've met a couple times, would you drive over to their house and hand your baby to that person and then be like, okay, I'll see you in a week? If you did that, you'd be bad mom. Why not? Because you don't know this person, you don't trust this person, you've never been around them, you don't know how they think, how they act, what's important to them. You just handed your infant off to someone you don't know. Bad things are going to happen. Inevitably, harm can come to your child that way. So you would not do that with your book. Your writing psyche and your work are not strong enough yet to be thrust into that kind of situation. It can't fend for itself. It will be killed or hurt, maimed, damaged beyond repair if you let the kid walk out into the street. So that's what you're doing when you hand this off to somebody who wants to get out the red pen. Right when you're at the beginning, do not do it. So, who would you hand your baby to? Well, you'd hand your baby to someone who loves you and who loves your baby. Someone who is wise. Someone you know. Someone who enjoys the presence of your baby. Someone who doesn't want to hurt your baby or you. Hand it to someone who will be nurturing and encouraging, who doesn't even know where they put one of these. They don't even have one. But they're going to tell you, look, this is what I loved about this. Do more of that. That's what you need, not the red pen. Now, as your kid, meaning your psyche and your work, which are the same, intertwined, as your kid gets stronger and bolder and more independent, then your kid can go on its own to some more unfamiliar territory, like a kid spending some time at a friend's house without you there. And that's okay. You can go over to somebody else's house and have some fun over there, right? And that's all right. And they come back, all the better for it because of the relationships that they're building. But if they go over to a kid's house and the kid, calls them all kinds of names and tells them how stupid they are and how stupid their mother is, well, you aren't going to let your kid go back there and visit, are you? This can be the equivalent of, say, like little writers groups, whether you form that yourself or you become part of one. If you find that you're feeling encouraged and enlivened and spurred on by these groups, then by all means keep being involved with that. But if you are finding yourself discouraged and downtrodden and feeling dumb every time you come out of there, oh gosh, I can't write, I just can't, because of what they're saying, leave. Just like you would if your kid is getting picked on at somebody else's house. You don't have to sit there and tolerate that. I don't know why anybody thinks that they have to sit there and tolerate constructive criticism when it's hurtful. If something hurts you to the point that you don't feel like writing anymore, that is not any sort of constructive criticism. Even if they are dead on correct, the way they presented it to you was wrong and not helpful for learning. So you want to present things to people who are good teachers. Good teaching people are hard to find. They are nurturing in their opinions, not critical. Now I'm going to get into something that's kind of controversial, kind of like the number of drafts thing. There are so many old authors. If you type in writing drafts quotes, they'll tell you all about, and then I almost died of drunkenness in between my second and third drafts. And then my fifth draft, I cut off my right hand. And, they're all very, they love being martyrs about how painful this is. It just, well, another thing that I think has been pushed on us as writers is that you have to have an editor. I don't think so. I don't. And I know that I'm in the minority and that people want to say things like, well, first of all, like, how do you know if you have correct grammar or not? Well, because I can speak English and I'm an educated person. And if I have questions about the grammar of it, I will look it up. Or, sure, you can have somebody else read it through. If they see that you've got typos or something like that, then they can be like, "Oop, did you see this?" And that's fine. There's no problem with that, just because your eyes might have slipped over it. Not because you're ignorant of how grammar works, but just because you missed it. That's fine, but that's not really what they mean when they say editor. What a lot of times people say when they want you to get an editor is, since you're a writer, you've just lost all perspective concerning the story. You can't tell what's good, what's not, because poor little writer. That is so patronizing to me. In what other profession does that happen? Again, if you were an accountant and you calculated up all these figures and you have your balance sheet all laid out, you think someone else would come in there and say, you've been just working on these numbers too much. I bet that you don't have half of them right because you've lost your perspective. What? You'd look at him like, no, go back in your office and you do your job and I'll do mine. Yeah, they'll tell you that you're too close to it. You're too emotionally involved, and you just don't know that your main character shouldn't be named Robert. It should actually be named, Adam. Because that's what the name I like better than Robert. Even though you carefully thought about that name and picked it out and you think it suits him. And you wrote him. but they want something else. Editors, their job, a lot of times, is to switch around plot points, cut out whole sections, or demand that you write whole other sections. And the only time that they don't do that, and here's where you get to the crux of it, is if a writer is so successful that they don't dare do it. Tolkien, no one edited Tolkien. They did not, because they didn't dare. And if you'll notice that on this new movie, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, you think anybody else has their name on the screenplay besides J.K. Rowling? They don't. She wrote it. And they just thank their lucky stars and fall down at her feet and say, thank you so much for writing this for us and making us so much money. Because the people who edit books are in it to make a living. They are paid. So of course they're going to tell you that you've lost perspective, that you can't do it, because if they told you you could do it, they'd be out of a job. So their job is to plant that insecurity inside of you. You can't do it. You know, you don't know. You don't know what's good. Your instincts, nobody can trust those. Trust my instincts instead. Trust in me. If you are going to an editor because you don't believe in yourself, stop it. You're just feeding your own insecurities because of that. If you're going to an editor because you seriously do want some help and you feel like something is structurally wrong with your story or something like that, and you literally cannot fix it on your own, you've sat down for hours and hours and you can't figure out what it is, and none of your friends know, and none of your writing group knows, and nobody knows, and so you feel like you have to go and pay an editor to do that. Well, fine. Okay. Maybe he or she will be able to point out the exact wrong thing that's the matter that everyone else missed. So yeah, do that. If you are genuinely wanting a fresh pair of eyes, fine, great, go right ahead. But I'm going to tell you one thing that's been bothering me for a while now, and it's another thing that has been pushed down on us as writers that I've never understood it, and I think we need to get it out of our heads. And I kind of referred to it earlier, and it's the idea, the concept that this is supposed to be really, really, really hard, and that it's supposed to hurt, that it's supposed to be torturous. I think I saw a quote the other day that said, writing a book is like reading, except the book is trying to eat you and everything's on fire. I've never experienced that in my life. The book trying to eat me and everything's on fire. What is that? That might be an excuse for having your room in chaos or something, or having your mind messy and not knowing what you're doing and not being able to finish anything. If that's what it is this mental crutch, like, oh, it's supposed to be really hard and that's why I'm just so miserable and I can't do anything. Suck it up. Suck it up. I mean, be like a professional, for crying out loud. There's no other job that's like that. Like, artists and writers, for some reason, think that it's supposed to hurt a lot. Well, if it truly hurt, I think another thing is that writers are being dramatic. Because if it truly hurt that much, if it was truly that unpleasant, no one would do it. Nobody would do it. What's the fun in that? Writing is supposed to be fun. Okay? That's the main thing I want you to take away from this. Writing is fun. It's the most fun that I ever have, besides being at Disney World. Writing is a blast. Writing gives you the key to explore so many things. It is not painful. It's not a grind, and things are not on fire in a bad way. They're sometimes on fire in a good way. Not chaos, not pain, not a drag, not torture. So get that out of your head. Don't let the stereotype win. Because all of those stereotypes are created to keep you in your place, to put you in your corner, and to take the power away from you. Because if you're in chaos and in pain, and you've lost all perspective, and you're too close to it, then guess who gets power over your story? The people you give money to. Like, you're actually paying them to take power away from you. Oh gosh, I gotta pay an editor. I gotta pay a publisher. I gotta pay all these people because I don't know what I'm doing. I wrote this whole novel. I started out here and I did all of this research. I built the world. I built the characters. I interviewed them. I mapped things out. I mapped out the outline. And I sat down and I wrote the whole thing word by word. And I read over it. And I read over it again. And I moved things until everything flowed. And then I had some friends read it who loved me. And then I had a writing group love it. And suddenly, I don't have perspective. Suddenly, I don't know what a good story is. That's crap. Don't fall for it. Don't let anybody take the power away from you because you're not sure. If you genuinely do want a perspective from someone, then choose that person carefully. They're like your sidekick, your ally, your army. You're not going to pick somebody who stabs you in the back. Pick powerful people who enjoy you and like you and who are on your team, and they don't pull out the pen. So that's it for today. Be sure you're careful about who you hand this to, that it's in the best interest of your writer's psyche and your work, that you guard that thing, protect it, and make it strong just like you would your own kid. Not like a piece of merchandise or a scarf. You know, this is an important thing that you have created. So guard it until it is big and strong. And only hand it off to somebody when you decide, not because you feel insecure about something. Don't ever give power away. Instead, bring people in to the adventure with you. But don't surrender. Okay, that's it for this week. I will see you next week. Thanks.